So it's review time here again at the MXQ project. Today we have the Magicsee N5. Now this is another really cheap TV box, but it comes with the S905X processor by Amlogic. It has 2GB of RAM and 16GB of onboard storage, which is obviously shared by the Android operating system, which is Android 7.1 Nougat. Now this TV box is again very cheap, so we're going to be looking at this today and see if, although it's cheap, see if it's any good and if it's going to be worth your time. Anyway, my name's Matthew and you're watching another review by the MXQ project. So here is the device now, and unfortunately it hasn't got off to the best start. Now this is just a very cheap TV box at the end of the day, so I wasn't expecting a huge amount, but I've got a list here of all sorts of different problems, and we're going to get into that in a second. But just right now we're unboxing it. You don't get a huge amount in the box. You obviously get the Magicsee N5 in there, and you get a power supply as well, appropriate to your country, and of course a remote control, HDMI cable, etc. All the usual things we've come to get used to when receiving these Android TV boxes. So let's move on now. Let's load up this device. So yeah, quite a long list of problems. So first off, the first issue I came across was the UI. The actual menu bar itself, just on the top here, when we pull it down, it turns the whole screen black. Now that's not meant to happen, or at least on the boxes that I've gotten used to. That menu bar shouldn't do anything with the screen. It should just be nice and you know, allow everything to be seen nice and clearly. But yeah, it turns the screen black for some reason. As well as that, another thing I've noticed is when maybe you're in an app like YouTube, for example, the actual menu bar on the top here, it's always there. You can't get rid of it, so it's constantly there. Apart from when you use Kodi, it disappears then. But yeah, whenever you're using apps like YouTube, it's always there. So moving through the actual, standard performance of the actual firmware itself and the UI, etc. When I first loaded up the Play Store, it just crashed and became totally non-responsive. It actually came up eventually saying the actual process of the system was utterly failing, and I had to restart the box. So not very good start, to be honest with you. And when things like that start happening, it kind of gives me a bad feeling about the device. As well as that, the actual on-screen keyboard was slow as well, not just in, maybe using the Chrome browser, but it was actually slow in like the likes of YouTube, etc. Things just weren't responding the way I wanted it to, and I was just using a standard air mouse really, and it just wasn't really responding correctly with the inputs and that when I was using the keyboard. And yeah, it was just utterly failing at basic tasks, well, so far at least. So moving on, you get standard apps like Chrome, YouTube. You actually get the YouTube TV app, which is good to see. They've made a bit of an effort to actually put that on there. As well as that, you get Netflix. Unfortunately, Netflix, again, just like every other TV box just about, it is limited to 480p. But, it is what it is, and Netflix is probably more to blame for that than, the manufacturers, because it's so difficult to actually get a TV box, officially supported by Netflix themselves. This is the 4K, this jellyfish file, UA Ultra HD, and yeah, not very good. It really is struggling. It was alright with H.264, that's 1080p, and yeah, it was alright with that, and it did a pretty decent job. But I expect it to do 1080p. I expect even the old S905 processor to handle that. So, UHD files, so far not so good. Probably further testing needs doing with that, and it was all run through Kodi as well, so who knows, we'll just have to keep testing and see what happens. So one thing this box has got going for it is the hardware. It's got 2GB of RAM and a decent amount of storage as well, and of course that Amlogic S905X processor, which is pretty decent, and it does a half decent job when paired with decent firmware. So the Android TV experience is a piece of firmware that's available for a number of different Amlogic devices, and they have just released the S905X version, so I'm quite excited to actually install it. Apparently it runs really fast, so it could improve things for this box quite dramatically. 90% of the time I can install firmware and even recover most TV boxes, and this TV box has kind of just totally got me stumped. Number one, it won't connect to USB burn-in tool properly. So if you guys ever purchase this box and ever became, problematic or anything like that, then you're going to come across a lot of issues regarding actually trying to recover this thing. I couldn't get it to connect properly at all, even trying numerous different versions of USB burn tool. We went through all the usual processes to first try all the variants from the last couple of years, and then moving on to like the likes of Burn Card Maker, as well as even booting into TWRP to try and install this firmware. I even went as far as converting these image files for Android TV experience into zip files and using TWRP to install that, but no, it just wasn't having any of it. So as far as a box that is going to be worth buying, no, not a chance. This is such a poor piece of hardware that I would not recommend it in the least. And there's so many different websites out there that are actually recommending this, and I'm not entirely sure why. Clearly, they just want the commission from you guys purchasing it on Gearbest, of course, and we're not all about that. We want to make sure people are getting at least a half decent piece of kit when they maybe use some of the links that are available in our description, but I'm certainly not going to try and sell you guys something that just isn't going to work. Maybe in the future with maybe new iterations of the hardware, things will change, but right now this TV box is an utter pile of crap. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and give you a bit of insight into the Magicsee N5, and yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Thanks again for watching, and we shall see you very, very soon. Don't forget to check out the website, Facebook group, and of course Twitter, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. We shall see you very soon.